Welcome, everyone, and thank you, Mrs. Ryan Taylor, for co-hosting the podcast with me today. I was hoping that we could start by having you give us a little introduction. Who are you? What's your role here at the school?
I am the Director of Student Services. I started at Avon Grove Charter. I believe this is my 6th year. I initially started in special education and overseeing special ed for grades 6 through 12 at the time. And then I was the Director of Special Education. And most recently, I'm the Director of Student Services. So I oversee a lot of the social, emotional, and positive behavior programming. And work with the counselors a lot and the principals a lot as well.
Yeah, and just as someone who is in your orbit regularly, I can see that you bring a lot of passion to your work. It's something that I admire.
Thank you.
Presumably, you also enjoy doing the work. I would imagine that if you have that much passion, it's kind of hard not to. Would you agree with that? Do you like what you do?
Oh, I love it. I love the teams that I work with. I love working with the support staff. I think that having a team of people around you that are passionate but can also laugh and take things serious when needed and is really important. And so, yeah, I do love it every day.
Yeah, that's great. And I also want one more thing about you and your role here. I haven't been as involved this year because of the What's So Cool About Manufacturing contest, but I know that you also play a major role in the equity action team.
Yes.
And you always bring a lot of really positive energy and momentum to that. So
thank you.
I just want to kind of share my appreciation for you.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate the equity action team for inviting me in. I wasn't initially involved in it. So being able to join late and having your ideas welcomed and being part of that team and listening to teachers is just really cool.
Yeah, totally agree. Well, let's get into the pod. So a lot of folks are wearing red and black today.
Yes.
And I'd love for you to kind of talk to us about why.
So as many people know, we recently wrapped up our Craze event. And one of the things that we collected as part of Craze was Hot Wheels. And this came about, I guess, a couple of years ago. And forgive me, Beth Ann Landenbaum, if I get this wrong, but Beth Ann found a Hot Wheels car in Starbucks, and it had a gold sticker on it that said Hot Wheels from Heaven. So naturally, she looked up and said, what's this Hot Wheels? And a man in Oxford in 2011 lost his son, Eli Matthews, to leukemia. And shortly after that, he was visiting his headstone, and he had Hot Wheels on the headstone in honor of Eli because Eli loved Hot Wheels. And unfortunately, one of the Hot Wheels was stolen. So rather than he was angry, but rather than kind of channeling that anger, he looked to turn it into a positive. So he went out and purchased Hot Wheels, and he sent them to hospitals, one in every state, I believe. And then kids find the Hot Wheels in the community, and they're Hot Wheels from Heaven. And it's just a tribute to Eli Matthews and to recognize childhood cancer. So shortly after that happened in 2011, the Oxford mayor at the time proclaimed March 1st as Eli Matthews Day. And everyone wears red and black to support Eli because that it was his favorite color. So we are happy to support Eli and Paul Matthews and our local community to raise awareness for childhood cancer.
Yeah, this is kind of one of those things where it's like awesome that we celebrate it, but it is a moment to kind of feel that sadness as well. I'd love to make a more explicit connection between Craze and the foundation. Can you kind of help draw that connection?
Yes. So part of Craze is acts of kindness, and one of the acts of kindness was to collect Hot Wheels for to give back to the foundation to then give to people to place in the community. We worked with 4 different charitable organizations throughout Craze, and one of those being the Eli Matthews Foundation, where we were collecting Hot Wheels. So that is where the Hot Wheels went, and Paul was able to come to our closing ceremony to talk about what it meant to him, along with our other guest speakers as well.
That's great. And we'll talk more about Craze in a little while, because I'm excited to share with the community some of the outcomes, some of the numbers, things like that. So we'll get into that. It's funny, before we started recording, we were looking at the agenda here, and you had said, did you put this next question here on purpose? Which was, where do you stand on what I'll call minor or less traditional holidays? At this point, every day essentially has some sort of national or international holiday attached to it. So My question for you is like the Eli Matthews Day. Yes. That's something that's very special. It's local and and it's a movement that has something attached to it that I think is really powerful. And that's true, I think, for some of these other days, but man, there are some that I see and I'm like, I don't know about this one. So where do you stand?
So it's funny you say that because I listen to Q102 in the morning when I drive here, and I know that I'm showing my age and people make fun of me for still listening to the radio, and I do.
Live your truth.
Yeah,
Live
I
your
do.
Truth. That's okay.
And every morning, well, this is making me feel like I'm about to like live out my dream of being on the radio with these mics and this setup, and I'm just like pretending I'm an Elvis Duran in the morning show. But anyway.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
Much.
So I bring that up because every morning they talk about what the day is. And so I think I don't know what today is, but there's like Cheese Doodle Day. So as I'm like wearing red and black for this Eli Matthews Day, I'm also looking up all these other days, and I'm like, oh my gosh, some of these days are really interesting, and we cannot celebrate every single day and Cheese Doodle Day, and some of them are so ridiculous. But like you said, there are some that really mean a lot to people, and I think it is a really strong way of bringing our community together and seeing what does mean a lot to not only our students, but our staff and our community members. And I really do think it's important to highlight those days. So we're building that connection within the school. So something like the Eli Matthews Foundation Day and other days that mean a lot because they speak a truth to the experiences that some of our students or staff went through. I love celebrating those days because it's a way to connect with one another. So that's kind of where I stand on that day.
I completely agree. And I think there's also something that we talked about again before recording was like, I'm going to mention later on, we have March 5th is the National Day of Unplugging, which apparently is the first Friday of every March. And we talked about how like calling that the National Day of Unplugging feels a little silly, but then in some ways it's kind of a nice reminder of like, okay, wait a second, you know, how much time are you spending looking at a screen? I know for me as someone who works with media all day, every day, when I see March 5th is National Day of Unplugging, I actually think like, oh, maybe I'll go take a hike that day. Maybe I'll go outside. And so you can kind of parlay that into a stronger habit, to use your word from earlier. Let's get into some of the March AGCS dates here. There aren't that many. So on Thursday and Friday this week, so that's March 3rd and March 4th, we have asynchronous learning days, and those are also going to be opportunities for parent-teacher conferences. The only other thing I have going on here at AGCS during the month of March is the PTO is selling Hershey Park tickets. Ooh. And according to the K-12 calendar, that's starting on the 15th and then running through the rest of the month.
March 11th is National Social Emotional Learning Day, and we have done a lot with social emotional learning this year. So our goal with that this year is to make sure all of our staff are aware of what our social emotional competencies are, so that when we're integrating social emotional learning into academic content, that we have a good handle on exactly what it is we're teaching and speaking of. So for National SEL Day on March 11th, I'm sure we'll do something for our staff to celebrate.
So some of the other March dates here, things that might not have anything to do with AGCS, and
I forgot one.
Go ahead. Is it an AGCS date?
Yes.
Oh, great. Go ahead.
So this is really exciting because tomorrow is our staff Quizzo.
Oh, right. That's right. I'm signed up for that. Yeah.
Yes. So who's on your team?
I am part of the IT team.
Oh, that sounds
so
like
it's
a smart team.
I think, well, especially when it comes to like anything tech related, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, and actually probably beyond that, there are some smart folks in that room.
They are. That's making me nervous.
Whose team are you
on? So I am with Miss Ray, Miss Zabo, and Miss Florschutz. I think there's a lot of smack talking that is happening.
I haven't seen it.
And I've heard I don't know if there's raffles happening, but I'm excited.
We have the Quizzo teams here. First of all, we've got a sample team that someone set up for us. I don't know whether this was Beth Ann or someone else, but the sample team's name is Everybody Poops.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that is a fact.
It is a fact.
Thank you, Beth Ann.
We've got the Fun Snatchers. That's Tasha Bowers. That's Brian Bruto, Jem Weaver, and Melanie.
Yeah, that's going to be a competition too.
The Fun Snatchers. That's a funny name. We've got
I mean, HR sometimes is Fun Snatcher.
They can be.
They can also be the life of the party.
They can also be the life of the party. Exactly. We've got Split Decision, the Biologics.
Okay. Are you good at Quizzo?
No.
Yeah, I'm terrible.
I'm not very good at Quizzo.
Okay, so if there was a category that would be your category of Quizzo, what would it be?
This is a really good question. I'm going to buy myself some time and ask you to answer it first.
Okay. Okay. It's definitely not pop culture.
Okay.
Is it sad that I can think of more this is not my area than this would be my area?
No, I feel like that makes sense. You might know a little bit of about a lot of different topics, but like you kind of have to get lucky with some of the ones that are like deep cut questions on topics. So
yeah. I recently went to a couple war museums, so that's a little fresh in the head.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Over the summer, I went to what is it, Charlestown in Virginia, where like one of the first settlements. Editor Arders here. It is not Charleston. I visited Williamsburg, Virginia over the summer, so not good at Quizzo, confirmed. So, you know, I was about to say that that's a strength, but I got to say now, I almost forgot the name of the place. So
if they ask about Virginia settlements, it might be your question.
Okay. Your team is called, your team is called That Escalated Quickly.
Yep. Yep. It did. Yeah, it did escalate quickly. And that's kind of where we find ourselves a lot situation.
That is so awesome.
So
all right.
We're really good at de-escalating, but it often escalates quickly.
So some of these dates, I mentioned National Day of Unplugging. Apparently that's the first Friday of every March. That's March 5th. So folks, if you are someone who is finding yourself staring at your phone or your computer screen like I do all day long, maybe spend some time outside if it's nice enough. March 8th is International Women's Day. I feel like that's kind of a big one. March 13th. Oh, this is important.
Yes.
Daylight saving time. And what is it? It ends in March and then we spring forward.
We spring forward and then we fall back.
We fall back in the fall. But like in terms of the language here, daylight saving time starts in November, I think, right?
Yeah, this is where we wouldn't be good at Quizzo. I know that daylight savings originated with farming, correct? Because the farmers needed more daylight. I do not want to say yes or no.
I do not want to say yes or no.
I think it's because the farmers needed more daylight to harvest their crops.
We will not look this up live. And for anyone who's listening, if you know the
text
definitive...
us or call us in.
Yeah, please. Yeah, exactly. March 14th, of course, is Pi Day.
Yeah.
Do you celebrate Pi Day?
No, I like pie.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would say my favorite pie is Boston cream. I like cake over pie, cupcakes over cake. So pie would be like not my favorite dessert, but I like any sweets.
You're kind of building it from the ground up.
Yes.
Like pie's down here, number 3, then cake, then cupcakes. All right. I have a dissenting view. I think pie is one of the ultimate desserts. I think it's also one of the ultimate meals. You can do a lot with pie.
It's true.
And
Savory pies.
I just appreciate that a lot.
Do you have a favorite?
Well, I was just about to talk about this. So I've been vegetarian now for almost a year.
Oh.
And before this, I would have said chicken pot pie is right up there, like the top of my list for meals. I have not yet experimented in the world of vegetarian pies.
Yeah, I feel like they have to exist, but the only two pies that are savory that are coming to my mind are chicken pot pie or like shepherd's pie.
Or maybe a quiche. You might consider a quiche a pie.
Do you consider a quiche a pie?
I do consider quiche a pie, but if someone says that they don't, I'm not going to die on that hill.
Because it's made in a pie tin with pie crust?
It looks like a pie.
Tastes like a pie.
Doesn't taste like a pie, but
tastes like eggs and vegetables.
We've got March 17th is St. Patrick's Day. And then on March 20th, it's the first day of spring officially. Yeah. There are a few things I want to highlight, kind of things going on in the community. First off, I was out in the collaboratory and I asked a student what I should add to the topics of conversation. And he said, well, the Batman comes out this week. So just in case anyone is interested, the Batman comes out Friday. Raise Craze has wrapped up. So we kind of like mentioned this at the top of the pod.
Yeah.
I'm excited to talk about this. I mentioned it in the February podcast because that was kind of focused on National School Choice Week. So just as a reminder for everybody out there, there's no place like AGCS was sort of this campaign that connected National School Choice Week with Raise Craze. And it was kind of a way to like celebrate our school community through acts of kindness while raising money for the school. And you played a huge role in this. And I'd love for you to talk to the community about some of the takeaways, some of the outcomes. You know, there's a lot of exciting news to share.
Yeah, I think I also have to shout out the principals, the staff, the students, Jen on the PTO. There was a lot of people that were heavily involved in the success of Raise Craze. So we I think the thing that I'm most proud of is that our goal was 8,000 acts of kindness, and we surpassed that. We got over 9,000 acts of kindness, and we really like to focus on the acts of kindness over the financial money raised, because that's really the most important part about Raise Craze, is making sure that we're giving back to our community. We did in total raise $85,960, which is going to go such a long way in supporting our student programming.
That's incredible.
And we're really hoping to do a lot more with just kind of getting students back into in-person activities and supporting that as much as we can, like assemblies, things that our kids really love to do and that are important, in addition to academic support, social emotional learning,
right,
behavior supports. And I also do want to highlight the other organizations that we did collect things for and that were gracious enough to come out and speak. So we had Robert Hall from the Grain Train. So Leo Club was a big part of this and collected a ton of stuffed animals for the Grain Train. We talked about Paul Matthews earlier, so he came out and spoke. Amy Perkins came out from the Oxford Lighthouse. I didn't realize how much they did for our community, so we collected box goods and some food for them to be able to support our community. And Amanda Wendling from the PA National Guard came out, and for the National Guard, our students wrote letters. She explained how much that meant when they were overseas and were able to get letters when they were homesick. So that was all really powerful to hear those speakers speak and to know that the generosity of our community really went to good causes.
Yeah, that's great. Mm-hmm. And I mean, you might have more to share. I do want to just take a moment here and kind of emphasize one of the points that you started with, which was that we had over 9,000 acts of kindness, mm-hmm. and that Raise Craze, and then ultimately kind of getting back to that There's No Place Like AGCS mm-hmm. campaign. I mean, it really is all about promoting a culture of kindness mm-hmm. and making it so that this place, and that goes beyond just the school, but the community mm-hmm. is one that is centered in kindness, or founded might be a better word. Mm-hmm. And that money that we raise is almost like a bonus attached to it.
For sure.
So I just love that so much.
I loved going on Facebook and typing in the No Place Like AGCS hashtag and seeing the pictures of kids reading to siblings and shoveling snow and dropping off things to our local police departments. And I think that is so special for me to see the difference that our students are making, and like how good it makes them feel to do kind things for others is really cool.
So the What's So Cool About Manufacturing contest, which I think I've brought this up mm-hmm. from time to time on the pod or elsewhere. This is a contest for 8th grade students. We've got a team of 3 8th graders, and we make a video of a local manufacturer partner. So in this case, it's CPV Manufacturing in Kennett. And the students and I recently finished the video. We submitted it to the contest organizers. Let's keep going.
You've arrived.
I see it, CPV. I see the sign. Office, we're going to the office. Let's go left.
I got it.
So I'm really excited for that contest. There is an opportunity for the community to vote for AGCS in this contest. And I would love for the community to kind of, get behind us on this, because this is something that these 3 students put a lot of work and effort into. Voting for the contest starts on March 16th and it ends on March 18th. So during that time, people can go to what'ssocool.org. And then they can select our team. I think there are a dozen teams competing in the Chester and Delaware counties. Another few key points here. We've got a 24 tournament coming up on April 2nd. This is something that we're doing with, I think, the lower grades through middle school. Mrs. Hendrickson and Mrs. Johnson from ELC are kind of leading this effort. Students around the community, not just here at AGCS, can enter this tournament if they're interested in playing a game that focuses on math skills. It's called 24, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun. That's on April 2nd.
Yes, 24 is an awesome game.
Yeah, I haven't played.
Really?
I'm excited to learn, though.
Oh, it's so fun.
Yeah, I was talking with Mrs. Hendrickson about it, and she was saying that every time she plays, she has an absolute blast.
Yeah, it's great.
I'm like, all right, that's great. We've got Mamma Mia coming up in April. Mamma Mia here at AGCS. Opening night is Thursday, April 7th. We also have ongoing K-3 tours happening at the Early Learning Center. This is every Wednesday through March 23rd. And if you or someone you might know is interested in that, you can contact Deb Bale to register for a tour. And then finally, there are several open positions here we've got some employment opportunities at AGCS. Check out agcharter.org. All right.
Cool.
I think that about does it for our March AGCS monthly news podcast. Is there anything that you would like to add, Mrs. Taylor?
No, I'm excited for March.
Yeah, I am too. It's a good month.
Yeah, mostly Pie Day.
Mostly Pie Day. Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, thank you again for joining me. I really appreciate you being here.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me. Thanks.
Awesome.